Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you and hello to all the new subscribers. This channel does not follow a format. It is purely intuitively guided messages. However, spirit wants to channel through me. It's not coming from me. It's very much guided. So sometimes we do readings that are tarot readings, camera on the cards, and try and make them as specific and personal as possible. And then we have extended readings that go along with that. Sometimes I get on here thinking that I'm going to use cards and I end up just channeling and speaking for 30 minutes. And sometimes we use cards and we also talk and, I share about the collective energy and whatever's going on. But it is so divinely guided and I always listen. I obey, if you will, if spirit tells me not to get on or spirit tells me to get on, all of that. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of a community and a channel like this that is super, super intuitive. So you don't really rely on me for consistency, but you still tune in here. So I'm very, very grateful. And if you're new and you've subscribed, thank you. You've contributed your beautiful energy. So I will pick up more on your energy for messages, and your guides kind of start this process, this alchemical process of working with me through you. So I channel what most needs to be heard. And the more that you comment and engage and liking, sharing, all of that, not only does it help the channel grow so that more people can receive the messages, but it also really helps me pick up on you and your energy. So thank you so much for being here. This is the 6/6 portal. That my intention for this is to really tap into the collective energy happening right now. As portals go, they often, a couple days before and then a couple days after. So you do kind of have a window to tap into the energy if you don't hit it right on the nose. I'm a little bit late on this reading. I wanted to have it out earlier today, but because I was guided to share some other more controversial shares earlier, those took my focus. And so now I'm really just going to leave this to be whatever spirit wants to tell us here, and have it be really specific about the portal and the energy, but I'm also not going to guide it and force it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not going to ask what's going on with the masculines, what's going on with the feminines, what's going on with the collective. Like, it's really just going to be the theme of this portal and what spirit most wants to come through. That's going to be the most beneficial and helpful to as many people as possible. So I'm going to light some sage. I had some really, as I was setting up and I was going to do this reading, my lights fell over just like on their own. So I definitely feel the guides are here. Spirit is here. However, there's a bit of like a mischievous energy in the collective. And if you tuned into my previous message that I shared earlier today, there's one on YouTube and then there's one in my Patreon community. You'll know there's kind of an energy. I really go in depth with it in the Patreon share around masculine or distorted masculine energy, not necessarily talking about an individual or a divine masculine, your counterpart. I'm talking about the collective of masculines and how, we've seen a lot of violence going on. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of that. And that really excites, I would say, maleficent guides and more kind of trickster energy. They're really powerless, especially if you are someone of divine energy and you radiate love light and you're in your heart space. They can't touch you, they can't harm you, but just being aware that they are out there is helpful to know. So there's definitely like the trickster sort of energy in the collective. That's something coming up for the 6/6. But you know what it is. And again, I go more in depth. So if you're interested, if you feel guided, definitely check out the energy share that I gave earlier. But it's the more that we expand and the more that our energy gets really strong and really bright, it kind of calls forth the opposite of that energy, right? The polarity, the duality, it kind of brings it out. So whenever we have like a super sacred day or a portal energy, or, we're going through something in the collective and it's aligned with the cosmos and whatever else is going on, whatever the external influence is, there's always going to be this counter energy that is trying to invert, distort. And when we're aware of it, it really loses its power. But if we're just going about our business and we're not really aware, and we're not, I don't want to say on guard, but just that we're not even acknowledging that that's present, we leave ourselves a lot more vulnerable to these energies coming in, and then it can result in just feeling kind of irritable, feeling kind of low energy, tired. You don't really know why. You feel kind of anxious. And so really holding your vibration, and you can do things like shielding, using energy itself to shield your aura, to shield your home, to shield your loved ones, your pets, whatever shield around you. That's really important. But just having that sort of being in conscious relationship with energy. So it's not just what you see, right? It's what you feel. Do you feel you need to shield? Shield. Do you feel the vibration or the energy of a place that you're in, that it feels good, or does it not feel good? Just being aware, especially on portal days or like powerfully potent days, because there's always a counter energy out there trying to invert. And hopefully we'll ascend past that in New Earth, right? But that's something none of us have gone through. So we'll see what happens. Okay. I'm trying to decide. I didn't even grab the decks that I wanted, to be honest with you. I was just so excited to do this reading for you that I didn't even grab all the decks I want. So we'll start with this deck. And I'm going to ask for like overall energy. And I know we're channeling because my nose is getting super itchy. Okay. Tell us about this 6/6 portal spirit. What is it that you most want the collective to know? What is the energy that's really important to be aware of? Okay. Okay. The one. Something about this card and the energy of the card. I don't normally do like pop culture references, but something about this card is reminding me of like Neo, the Matrix, the one, right? I'm not the biggest expert in that film, or that, is it a trilogy? Is it more than that? Anyways, clearly I'm not the biggest expert, but I do understand the general principles of it. And from my understanding, the writers of that and the creators of that film borrowed, were inspired by a lot of Rudolf Steiner's work and the predictions that Rudolf Steiner, the mystic, had talked about and spoken about, that was about this time right now that we're in, this ascension portal that we're in. I am very familiar with Rudolf Steiner. I don't know if this collective, this community is, because I don't talk about it much on here, but that's something that if it resonates for your soul might have some things that they want to unlock for you, and remembering and kind of looking into Rudolf Steiner and his teachings and the mystery schools that he was a part of, or kind of one of the founders of. So anywho, but I digress. Let me get back on topic. So what I'm feeling with this portal is it's very intense. This is an activation, an awakening. So the Roman numerals up here, when I kind of blur my eye, I'm seeing 222. So what I'm actually feeling from this portal of the 6/6 is reminiscent of what occurred on February 2nd, 2022. The energy of that portal was very profound and potent. I'm sure you all felt it. I'm sure you remember it. And it's like we've been in this continuation of the energy, not even since then. I would actually argue since back in like October. There was a lot of sort of activations, and it was like back to back. It was like 1010, the 1010 portal. That was a big one, the 1111. And then we just kind of kept going. And what it's been doing is it's been refining us. It's been wringing us out. It's been wringing out any last bit of goo. I heard, oh, gross, like black goo, toxicity, attachments, portals within our bodies that we're carrying that we're not even aware of. And when I'm using portal there, I realize I'm using it in many ways. Dark portals, unwanted portals we're not even aware that we have within our body, attachments, entities. I mean, you name it. All of this that we walk around in this earth as a human, and if we're not shielding, if we're not in love light, if we're not in our heart, if we're unaware, if we're asleep at the wheel, these things attach onto us because they're feeders. They need our energy in order to survive, and survival is the name of the game. So we've been going through this really profound shift, and I address a lot of divine feminines here, but I'm aware that a lot of divine masculines watch too. So I don't ever want to kind of like isolate But for divine feminine, I'll address you specifically here now. You may have felt like these big, powerful days have come and gone, and you've sat there twiddling your thumbs. And some of you may have gone through external things. You may have gone through towers, shadow, dark night of the soul. You may have gone through things, and you may be feeling these energies leave your body, but it's almost like the intensity of your journey slowed down when we entered this portal. So divine feminine was going through it last year, right? This time last year, going through it really intensely. And then it's almost like you've completed your ringing out. You completed the cycle of releasing, and there's always going to be more to release. It's not like you're ever this like perfect, complete, being. You're always going to go deeper. You're always going to find more to do. But you really got to this place of integration, embodiment of your divine masculine and your divine feminine energy. And because you were in that place, spirit almost protected you in this sort of cocoon-like energy for you to hold down the fort, if you will, to hold the love light. Many of you probably felt like you had completed a lot of your karmic cycles, your karmic cleanup, like it was done. You started to really cultivate peace. And I know I had talked to many feminines, myself included, where it almost felt like we weren't even here anymore. It's like we were straddling like multiple realities, multiple worlds. It's like when you become so neutral, your sense of identity almost goes away. And when you have things to touch into, to like, if you're a mom, right? If that's an example, or you're, you're in service in some way and you help others, and there's others that are kind of like dependent on you or something like that. You're able to connect back into this mission, but it's removing of self, right? It's not an ego mission. It's like the self is gone in that. You're just, like someone like me, I'm a channel. So there's very little identity in that. There's very little ego. And when you don't have a lot of external circumstances in your world that are challenging or difficult, or even just exciting, like, I don't know if exciting is the right word, but even just any sort of like, if you're looking at like peaks and valleys, but you're just kind of like this, you're just chilling, it's just peaceful. The ego is asleep. The ego is asleep. And so it feels like feminine went through that to hold down the fort for the rest of the collective. So it's like when the divine feminines who are walking a spiritual path, divine feminines that have a counterpart that are working with a divine masculine in the higher realms, it's like she held down the fort so that the collective feminine could start to do some work, could start to get some of this trickle down effect of the deep, dark work that the feminines were doing, the divine feminines. And you see it out in the collective. We talked about it, feminine rising. We saw all these people going through this. And that's kind of when the masculines, the divine masculines, the twin flames, those on this deep spiritual path, these ascended masters that forgot they were masters, that's when they started to wake up, because the feminine was able to hold a consistent frequency. And that's all it took, was to be able to hold and maintain an energy. And then the masculines was able to go through this journey, this portal, step through this portal and start the ringing out process. It's like acknowledging and admitting that you are the one you've been waiting for. Right? You are the one. You are what you were looking for. Oh, I'm getting so tempted to go into some of the controversial stuff I shared on the master, but I really don't want to. I don't want to open myself up to that on YouTube, so I'm not going to. But you are the one you've been waiting for. Okay, so if you're here, if you're tuning in, if you're watching this, you have a very important mission. You have a very, very important role in this collective. And similar to the Matrix, similar to Neo being the one, so are you. And I go into that in much more depth in that video on the Patreon if you're interested, but I'm going to refrain. So this 6/6 portal is like, oh my God. Okay. So they just showed me, beginning back to what I was referring to, maybe like October. Yeah, I feel like the 1010 portal was kind of when this began. So that was the thread. It's like, when you have like clothing and there's like one thread that gets loose, and it could hold on for an extended period of time, but it's slowly, without you even seeing it or knowing it, unraveling. But it's very slow and it's gradual until it's not, until that hole is so big and you're like, oh my God, I have to throw this away. Either I have to fix this or I have to throw this away. So that's what we're getting here, this portal, the thread. it has been unraveling for quite some time. The unraveling of the ego, the unraveling of the not self, the unraveling of the over identification or the attachment to the things that made us feel valid. But when you're the one, you don't have to feel valid because you know you're valid. And that's what so many of these spiritual journeys are about. That's the remembering of who you really are, who you always were, the depth of your being, the truth of you. You know, when we decide to incarnate, we go through the portal of forgetting through birth. And then life happens and all these things happen to us. And we accumulate all of this sort of pain and toxicity and the things that aren't ours and that are given to us. And we truly forget our own power and who we are. But this period of time that we're all sitting in is like, we can't play dumb anymore. We can't pretend not to know. You can never unknow what you now know. You can't go back. And I feel, because I've been very broad so far, Spirit's been very broad in this message. Like this applies to twin flame, no twin flame, spiritual path, no spiritual path. This is everybody. But for the twin flames specifically, the time of playing between two worlds, pretending to toe the line in your 3D, pretending to fit in and to still play small is ended. And you can't go back. And especially for the masculine energy. So that could be physical divine masculines, but it could also be the masculine energy within a feminine. Whatever we've clung to, whatever we've resisted, whatever we've fought can no longer be fought or resisted. And it's like a huge, like, it's like the abyss, right? I feel that those of us who resist, we just float in this abyss. We float in this stagnancy, pretending that this light that we see over here doesn't exist, but it just gets brighter and brighter and brighter and bigger until, and the irony, it's like the thread is being pulled. We're moving closer and we're being magnetized closer and closer to it, whether we know it or not. It's really funny. It's like a trick. It's like a trick that Spirit plays on us because our egos are so strong, right? Our egos are so strong in being like, nah. Like, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm not the one. Like, no, you're the one though. Okay. Bottom of the deck, we have the prayer. So you know what there is in this energy? There's a humbleness. It's a sense of like, it's like the best channels, people that can really, really channel. And I'm using this as an example because I know it very well, but I'm sure you could make this example in art, in, industry, like in so many different aspects. But the best channel is the one that puts themselves aside and their ego set down and they're just humble and they're just allowing. You can't, like, the more ego you have in channeling, the more kind of murky the message will be because it won't be clear. It won't be in its purity and its divinity, like the highest expression of what it could be. Yeah. And as I'm saying it, I'm like, yeah, you can talk about that when it comes to making art as well, or, fill in the blank, whatever humans get good at mastering. We have to put that down. We have to be in a state of devotion in order to reach our highest potential. So yeah, we can just skate by and we can be good enough, right? And we can fit in. And we can make, let's use art as an example. We can make the type of art that people like, that gets bought, right? We can make a living. But in order to really, really expand and just channel like the most powerful, potent energy, we have to remove ourselves. We have to put ourselves aside. And it's not from a place of self-sacrifice. It's a place of devotion is really what I'm getting. It's like grace, devotion, trust. And it feels in this energy, there we go. You can kind of see it better. It's really beautiful colors. It feels like there has been a huge humbling, a huge period of like, oh shit, what have I done? I'm going to fall on my sword here. Like when somebody here was willing and ready to look into the mirror, to look face to face at themselves in the mirror, that's when it became crystal clear. That's when things became clear, but it doesn't mean that they liked what they saw. So it worked. It worked exactly as how Spirit wanted to be. It was like divine because it was like, okay, fantastic. Now that you see what you've been, what you've become, what you've pretended to be, now you can see who you truly are. And the only way to get there from a place of kind of, foggy, toxic, just not self themes is through prayer. People talk a lot about meditating, but prayer gets very underrated. And prayer is not, there's so much misconception. I think a lot of like religions have made prayer be like, please God, deliver me this, right? But no, prayer can be dancing. Prayer can be dancing with the intention of a sacrifice, an offering, devotion, right? That's how I used to pray. And I still pray that way a lot, is through dance. But it's like whatever you offer up, whatever, you know, your conversations with your guides, your conversations with your higher self, your conversations with your counterpart in the telepathic realm. And you know, it's praying. It's reverence. I'm hearing the word reverence. Like it takes a willingness to surrender and be vulnerable. And in that, you are revealed as the strongest version of self. In that, you are made new, right? In that, you are your wings are spread. Like you get your wings when you do that. But we're taught the inversion in this world, in this matrix, in this, you know, we're taught the inversion. So it gets very confusing for people. You know, you just watch any little bit of human nature, you know, you can go and people watch somewhere, or, you know, documentary, like anything where you can really just see people in their element. We're all so afraid of being seen for who we truly are. And we're all so afraid of being vulnerable, being perceived as vulnerable, like leaving it up to something other than ourselves. We all cling to this control. But this portal that we're walking through, this process we've been on, this ascension, has been about relinquishing control and recognizing that it's through that there's actual true strength. I admire that more than anything and anyone. That is real strength. Living your life in a state of flow. You're not planning. You don't know what's coming. You don't know where you're going, because your trust in the divine and in your higher self is so strong that you know nothing can touch you, that you are safe, that everything is happening for your highest good at the exact divine right timing. That takes true strength. Right? But that's not what we value in the culture, not yet anyways. There's very few people that exhibit that. And I feel like even people that might live that way feel a little bit like in the closet about sharing that they live that way, because they don't want to open themselves up to critique or other people being like, what are you doing with your life? Like, get it together. You mean you don't have a 5-year plan? Right? Like all of that. But that takes true strength. And that's this vision here. I'm really seeing the vision is getting very, very clear. And it feels like somebody here in this energy wanted to ignore it for a long time and tried to, but the thread was slowly unraveling. So even as much as whoever this is tried, they couldn't fight the river. Like you can't fight the river. I mean, have you ever tried swimming against the current of a river? And rivers typically are extremely cold. Like they'll take your breath away. Man, you'll burn out so quick on that. And it's almost like it was set up by design. Like it's almost like spirit set us up that way to work that way, where it was like, we know about the human ego. We're not taking any risks. We know that they're going to want to deny. We know they're going to want to reject. We know they're going to want to run. We know they're going to want to do this. We know they're going to, you know, have a little temper tantrum, but we know that they're going to wear themselves out really quickly, and it's going to work in complete alignment and divine timing. I think that's where people get into a lot of fear. If I take the twin flame connection, let's just use that for an example. I think people get in a lot of fear about this idea of like free will choice versus destiny. So people, especially, you know, because I'm in session with a lot of divine feminines, that they are afraid that their masculine has chosen off. They're afraid that their masculine has used their free will choice to kind of take a detour. But the thing that spirit's showing me so much is every detour was divine. Every detour was like, it's like when you have fear about that, you're giving your power away and you're acting as if you're not as powerful as you really are. Does that make sense? Like it's not having anxiety or worry that something could go wrong or something could be off path is contradicting your whole belief in your intuition and yourself and the divine, right? So there is a very divine timeline, but time is such an illusion, and time doesn't work the way that our human brains can understand it. And even in like the deepest, highest states of channeling, or, when I know for sure I'm in the fifth dimension, or I'm touching the sixth dimension, or wherever I can go with my mind, uh, I still can't wrap my brain around time. I haven't been able to do it. I get it. Intellectually, I get it. But to embody and understand it, like looking at a star and just recognizing that's just a time, that's a time, right? So Palladians, that's a time. Arcturians, that's just a time, right? Trippy, but it's true. That's really what it is. But we can't really understand that. We think we can try, we can do our best, but we don't really understand it. So then when we're thinking about our lives and our manifestations and the things that we want, there's like the human way, the 3D way to look at time, and it's very limiting and it's very stressful and it's anxiety producing, and schedules, and oh, I'm running out of time, and how old am I, and oh my God, right? There's all that. When we're really time travelers, like our souls are infinite and our souls are experiencing all of it right now in the present moment. It's all happening right now. This is getting very, very multidimensional, let's say, very quantum, very, very confusing. So bear with me, but this portal feels that way. I was sharing about the trickster energy. It's because it's so mystical. It's because it's like what we're experiencing and what we're walking through, our human brains can't conceptualize. We can't understand it. All we can do is feel. That's our biggest ally. If I were to like shout on a mountaintop and teach the world something, it would be feel. Tune into your body and feel, because that is your only truth. That is your only truth. And it doesn't mean that your feelings are not temporary and that they're not always moving, but it's, energy, feeling, I'm kind of using them in the same way, but we've been so misguided about feelings and emotions. We've been taught all wrong. Everything we've been taught is wrong. I hear it all the time. I hear it even in passing in the grocery store, like the way people shame people for their feelings, and how it's, that is your superpower. How do I feel in this moment? What feels good? Does working this job feel good? No. Fantastic. I'm going to not do this anymore because that is my truth. That is my guidance, right? Okay, I have a hobby. Okay, I'm really into, let's say I really get into mountain biking. Fantastic. Follow that hobby. Feel it. Okay, one day, do you wake up and do you go, ew, the last thing I want to do in the world is mountain bike today? Fantastic. Follow that. Right? I teach a lot about human design in the Patreon community. And that was kind of the first spiritual activation. I wouldn't say the first, but it was like a deep spiritual activation for me. It was learning about human design. And that's one of the biggest things it teaches and honors, is how we have these unique energetic blueprints, and our energy is never going to lie. Energy never lies. And energy always shows you the path and the way. But the human mind gets so triggered, for lack of a better word, so attached, and it interferes and it messes up everything. Right? But the thing that we're learning, especially from this reading and this portal, is the mess up is actually a part of it. So even when you feel like you've messed up, or you got off the path, or you took a wrong turn, or you did something wrong and you're looking back and you're like, upset about it, it's like the divine, your higher self, your team planned for you to do it that way. It's like they knew, you knew that you were going to do that. So it was all part of it, especially for twin flames. Man, yeah. Speaking of mountaintop preaching, like if I could preach to twin flames, it's like, it's all part of it. It's all divine. The darkest, deepest despair, the dark night of the soul, where you feel like you literally are going to die and you wish you could, like you literally wish you would just die, because it's like, I can't do this anymore. No, I can't do this. That is the light. That is the path. That is like the best thing to happen on a twin flame journey. The more of those you have, the bigger the energy that you can hold, the more capacity you have, the more resilience you have, the stronger your mission is, right? The more pain and suffering that you have experienced, it's because you are about to hold a mission for so many people and hold their hand through that, because they are going to go through that. What you've been experiencing as a twin flame or a spiritual initiate or somebody on a spiritual path, you may think you're alone and you're the only one going through it, but I guarantee you every single person on this planet is going to have a choice point to go through that as well. And they're going to get many opportunities to take this choice point. And many of them will say, no, 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 just like you probably did. They're going to say, no, 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 no. I'm hearing the Amy Winehouse song, like try to make me go to rehab. No, no, no. That's what I'm hearing. So, and like, that's what we all do, right? We're like, no, no, no. But we're going to get all these opportunities. And eventually they're going to say yes. Or if they don't, the timelines are going to split and they won't be a part of your timeline anymore, right? Because there's new earth and there's, right? We won't get into that. But the message I keep receiving from spirit and my guides right now is they're like, no man left behind. We are all meant to go through this and ascend. And we're all on these divine timelines and we're all connected to one another. That's this domino effect I was feeling. And it's bigger than just spiritual people or twin flames or people that are like in the truth community or people that are doing this. Like, it's so much bigger than that. Right? Okay. This is such an interesting reading. So here's what we're getting here. We're getting the seeker and we're getting child, nature, inner child. So what I'm really feeling from this nature child card is that Gaia is here with us. Gaia is our friend. Gaia is doing this with us. And Gaia means earth. Yeah. The divine feminine expression of earth and her love, which is like the divine mother's love. It is infinite. It is unconditional. There is no end. And this is kind of that feeling of communicating with her, with animals, with plants, and just being, when you're in that state, you're in a very profound flow state. Okay. There's a lot of synchronicities. There's a lot of magic. There's a lot of downloads and sort of ahas that can come when we're in those sort of states. I feel like that's very connected because New Earth is like remembering all of that, remembering how connected we all are. When this animal hurts, we all hurt. When the oceans are hurting, like we're all hurting. And these are, interestingly enough, the specific message that's coming through here is this is a very specific mission for many masculines. Masculines are kind of like the Gaia keepers. They are the custodians of Gaia and the earth, which is why so many masculines are very connected to nature. They're very connected to kind of sustainability and like, healing the earth. I can't even tell you how many masculines that I've talked to in the world. And it's like their mission, or they have this divine purpose, or they feel like they want to buy property and like start growing their own food and help others. And and it's like, there's no coincidences. That's for a reason, because you are part of this. You are more connected to the 3D as this masculine energy. And therefore you are here to be a custodian of her, but you have to understand her in order to assist her. So the divine feminine energy had to come online. The heart had to be opened, right? There had to be freedom and expansion from that. And thus you went on the journey that you went on. And I feel like many masculines, I have to say, really are embodying in their masculine and feminine energy. They really, really are. And some of them are a lot harder on themselves than they should be, pretending that they're not. But that's what this portal, that's really what I'm getting. Like, we can't go back, pretending not to know. I just noticed on the bottom of the deck, I have the Avenger. A lot of like movie superhero type themes coming through, but this is desire to balance the scales of justice, righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Big time. It's like the fire has been lit. It's been activated. Seeker, thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. Yeah. I've been trying to keep this reading really broad, but this is a very strong masculine energy right now. Okay. Seeking. Okay, because that came out, I want to ask about feminine. Ooh, I love that. Okay. And it's purple too, like royalty. Guide. Yeah, feminines, I'm telling you what, and I've said it, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. If you are not stepping up into leadership and guiding, no matter the scale, doesn't matter how big, you are not on your mission then. You are not on purpose yet. And that is what spirit is waiting for you to do. That is the initiation. Because I've gone back and forth on that before. I've really tried to talk to I've been like, really? Like, does everyone have to? And it's like, yes. You would not have been on this journey if not. But this represents the nature of the divine in life and yourself. And it's exactly this beautiful image they gave me a long time ago that as I've gone on this journey, it's gotten more solidified and more solidified and more understood, is feminine, guide, mystic, crone, right? Powerful priestess, high priestess energy, connects to the cosmos, connects to the higher dimensions, connects to God, And in that empowered sort of state, the masculine connects to her as a like North Star energy to keep them connected so they don't get so stuck and bogged down in the density of the third dimension. So they're like, it's heavy, it's dense, you know, so they connect to that divine feminine energy within themselves. And if they have a counterpart, with their counterpart, and that bridges the worlds, right? Like it unifies. And the reason all that was coming through is the bottom of my deck is the Prince here. The Prince and the Poet. So we have romantic charm, potential for power, but I really feel like, I mean, this is somebody with flowers behind their back. Feminine, you deserve the world. Like you deserve everything, like absolutely everything. And feminine at the beginning of her journey tends to accept anything. Okay. Because it's not always because she's like got such low self-worth. That's sure something she needs to work on. For most feminines, I feel like it's trust and surrender, but it's not always a low self-worth thing. It's that you are so compassionate, so empathetic, so loving that you can see the best in people. And spirit actually puts on your path people that need to experience that love that they've never experienced in their entire lives from anybody. So they put them on your path, and it's just a mission, right? It's just a mission. That's all it is. So you're given the feelings you need to have. Spirit, you know, you're given all the information that spirit needs you to have for that mission. Then that mission completes, and you're meant to let them go in love and walk away, but you don't. Oftentimes you don't. And if you're a feminine, you probably resonate with this. In relationships you stayed in way too long, friendships, jobs, lovers, you stayed way too long and accepted peanuts and way less than you deserved because you felt on mission. There was a part of you that felt like it was guided. It was like synchronous, the way you got together with this person, the way you met them, the way, and you're right, it was, but it was a mission and it had a completion date. It had a completion date and you resisted that and you fought that, right? And then you learn the lesson of a karmic. You learn the lesson of creating karma with somebody and then having to go and purge and purify that. And, you know, masculine goes through this on their own as well, but I'm really addressing feminine here, but that's part of what this this relationship, this connection, this spiritual journey teaches feminine is like, it doesn't matter if you are my beloved, the one promised to me, my twin flame. If you are not showing up for me, then I gotta go. Right? And when spirit tells me, like when the divine, your intuition tells you that you have a mission and you're meant to connect at this moment, great, honor it and then walk away. You will not miss anything that's meant for you. You will never miss anything that's meant for you. And that's part of this dance of surrender and trust. And that's what this journey gets us so strong and so resilient in, is where we just know you're guided. You know it's okay. And it's not because you did anything wrong. It's not because you're bad at relationships. You are so much better at relationships than most of the population. That's the irony. Twin flames, I feel like, get this thing where they just feel like, oh, I must suck at relationships because they've had all these karmic connections, right? That's because you were used as a tool for the divine. The divine was like sending you in there as like one of his knights or her knights, right? But like you were used as a pawn over and over and over again, but you didn't get it because you didn't remember who you were yet. You didn't know. So you thought that you must be doing something wrong and that there must have been a flaw with you. And guess what? That's where you went wrong, where you started to think there was something wrong with you, that you needed to fix, that you were broken, that you weren't lovable. That's where you went wrong. And that happened later on in your journey, right? In the forgetting process. But you're remembering now. Both masculine and feminine are remembering, and they can't fight it anymore. That's the thing. You can't fight the river as much as you might want to. Okay. Whew, that was a lot. I'm like, whew. This is a really powerful heart opening portal. I got to say that because this whole time my chest has had such a heaviness, such a pressure. And I feel like there's a lot of sadness in the collective, but I want you to know when you really fully feel that sadness without an opinion on the sadness, without judgment. And I've talked about this before, but I'll reiterate. When you just allow yourself to feel the emotion, but you don't go, ew, why am I feeling that? Oh, that's negative. Oh, that's bad. I wonder if it's because of my mom, right? And you go into all this head stuff. If you just don't judge it and you just like, I'm feeling heaviness, I'm feeling sad, and you breathe through it and you cry and you allow and you just let it out. No judgment. Nothing is good or bad here. It just is. We are just neutral in what's occurring. That's what it means to be neutral. It doesn't mean you don't feel your emotions. It means you're neutral in the face of them. You allow them, you surrender to them. When you do that, they leave your body. They pass through completely. They don't get stuck that cause you disease or discomfort or pain or aches later. You don't have health issues. They leave your body fully because you felt them fully, right? Those of us that have all kinds of body stuff, issues, aches, pains, ailments, it's unprocessed emotions. It's unhealed trauma. It's things that we were not brave enough to feel. But guess what? You are brave enough now, and you know how to do it because you have the tools to do it. That's what this portal is really solidifying. I feel all this emotion in the collective, and I'm telling you, if you allow yourself to sit with it and be with it, you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn and purge a lot. Let's just wrap this up with some tarot. Yeah, because I didn't prepare for this, so I didn't grab some of the decks I might have wanted to use. So we're just using the decks that are here on my desk. Last messages. What do you want us to know? The other thing that I'm really getting to is that there are, like, the feminines are always looked at as being like very gifted in like intuition and clairvoyance. The masculines are just as gifted and have just as many gifts and powers and whatever you want to call it, metaphysical, mastery, I don't know, whatever. They have just as much. And you're the same soul, so you share them, right? And one could have it on this end of the spectrum, and then the other one kind of balances out by having it on this one. Some could actually be 100% mirrored. They're like the same gifts. And I don't know why spirit wanted me to say that, but as I was shuffling, that was what was coming up really strong. Okay, so there is another opportunity in love being gifted and being offered. There's justice for the lovers. I have justice and I have the lovers here. Okay, so there is this new opportunity now. It's now. It's now. And the integration, the healing, the learning, the understanding, it's like you have to trust that you're enough. You have to trust that you've gone through this. There's a fear about having a second chance or a second opportunity and blowing it and it not going well with the Four of Cups here. Okay. That is an illusion. That is an illusion. And that is fear. That is, it really is an avoidance of feeling the feelings. Because instead it's like going into the projection of how I might feel if this happens. That's kind of what, wow, that's interesting. That's such a good explanation of Four of Cups, because a lot of times Four of Cups can be really hard to interpret. But that's what it is. It's like, it is an emotion because it's the cups, but it's projecting what you might feel, right? It's kind of being like, it's in this withdrawal space too. It's like you haven't even lost the thing yet, but you're already preparing to lose the thing. Therefore, it's self-sabotage. Wow. That's really interesting. So don't do that. If that resonates at all, don't do that, because someone here is doing that. But we also have the Three of Wands. So it's walking into, it's a new journey, to be honest. Like the cycle has ended. There's a cycle that's closed and you don't have to resist it. It's just closed. Feel what you feel with that. If it feels kind of sad that it's closed, then feel it, allow it, let it be. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Don't ruminate on it. And move into this new cycle, which is a new journey, right? Three of Wands, a new journey in love, Queen of Cups. the most emotion and love you can feel for yourself, for another, gratitude, connection. I had a friend, I'm trying to remember what she said. I kind of want to leave it with this. If I can find what she said to me, if I remember. Well, it's very simple. We've kind of touched on it a million times, but I had to double check. But it's like that this portal is about divine love and divine partnership, but it is about the masculine energy within leading the charge, taking the initiative, and really like stepping into their power. And truly, there's messages in this for everyone, but so much of it felt very heavy on the masculine energy, the masculine side. And remember, we have masculine energy within us all. But it's time to come out of the shadows. It's time to come out of the shadows and stop being a closet spiritualist. If that's you and that resonates, it's no more of that. All right. I'm exhausted. That was a lot. I'm sending you all a lot of love. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Love you. And we'll be back later.